Maya sits silently in every team meeting at the Austin tech startup, watching Derek fill the room with confident predictions about their mobile app launch. But when the project crashed in March 2026, exactly as Maya had quietly anticipated, everyone wondered how the silent data analyst saw what the vocal project manager completely missed. 2 months after Maya first noticed Derek's blind spots, the pattern became unmistakable. During their February strategy meeting, Maya watched Derek completely miss Sarah's micro-expressions of frustration when he dismissed her API concerns. Maya caught the quick eye roll, the barely perceptible shoulder drop, the way Sarah's voice tightened just a fraction when she said, "Sure, that sounds fine." Derek powered through his presentation, oblivious to the emotional undercurrent building in the room. Maya's heightened awareness wasn't just good observation skills. It was hypervigilance. Years of navigating unpredictable family dynamics as a child had trained her brain to perpetually scan the environment for sights, sounds, people, and behaviors that might signal emotional danger. This wasn't a flaw. It was a cognitive adaptation that created superior pattern recognition in social and environmental contexts. What looked like Maya's weakness, her silence, her apparent disengagement, was actually a sophisticated information processing system running in the background. She noticed every small inflection in tone and change in behavior, hyper-aware of patterns that others missed entirely. Although this awareness was designed to be protective, it could be exhaustingly demanding to maintain. But it gave Maya something Derek would never have, a complete emotional map of every person in that room. While Derek focused on his talking points, Maya was reading the room's entire emotional landscape. And she was usually right. Her brain had learned to detect what mattered. Derek's confidence came from what he said. Maya's insight came from what she heard beneath the words. 3 weeks into the project's critical phase, Maya's cognitive advantage became clear in how she allocated her mental resources differently than Derek. While Derek filled every meeting with rapid-fire commentary and immediate reactions, Maya preserved her mental bandwidth for deeper analysis. Her working memory, the mental workspace where she actively processed information, operated within its limited capacity, but she managed that constraint strategically by reducing what psychologists call extraneous cognitive load. During their March planning session, Derek simultaneously juggled his presentation slides, responded to incoming Slack messages, and fielded interruptions from team members. His attention scattered across multiple streams of input, while Maya had closed her laptop, silenced her phone, and focused entirely on the conversation's underlying dynamics. Derek's brain was constantly managing surface-level multitasking, the immediate inputs and verbal outputs that consumed his mental resources. Maya understood intuitively that silence preserved cognitive space for the kind of complex pattern recognition that shallow processing couldn't support. Research on working memory shows that humans can only juggle about 4 chunks of new information at once, and when that limit is exceeded, learning stalls completely. Derek was constantly hitting this threshold, his mental bandwidth consumed by the competing demands of presentation, messaging, and interruption. Maya's approach was fundamentally different. While Derek's brain worked overtime managing immediate inputs, Maya's mind operated with carefully managed resource allocation. She wasn't just being quiet, she was optimizing her cognitive architecture for the kind of deep social and strategic analysis that would prove invaluable when the project inevitably hit its crisis point. By April, Maya's silence had revealed something Derek would never understand. She wasn't just quiet, she was emotionally hypervigilant. While Derek steamrolled through presentations, Maya's brain operated like an early warning system, constantly scanning for emotional threats and processing microsignals that others couldn't detect. Her childhood had taught her that survival meant reading every emotional cue in a room. When her parents' marriage imploded in unpredictable outbursts, her developing brain learned to detect the smallest shifts in tone, posture, and facial expression that signaled incoming emotional danger. This wasn't trauma. It was adaptive intelligence that would define how she processed every interaction at the startup. What looked like Maya's social anxiety was actually heightened emotional sensitivity operating at peak efficiency. During their final project meeting in April, Derek missed the fact that 3 team members were on the verge of quitting. Maya caught Sarah's increasingly clipped responses, noticed how James stopped making eye contact when discussing deadlines, and saw the way Emma's shoulders tensed every time Derek interrupted her suggestions. Derek interpreted their compliance as agreement, Maya recognized it as resignation, the emotional undercurrent that preceded collapse. Maya's brain had developed emotional competence that Derek's confidence could never match, the ability to read emotional quality beneath surface presentations. While Derek focused on what people said, Maya understood what they felt. She could sense when someone's agreement masked resentment, when politeness concealed exhaustion, when silence meant breaking point rather than acceptance. This wasn't intuition. It was the result of years spent calibrating her nervous system to detect the emotional weather in every room. That psychological advantage would prove decisive when their project reached its breaking point in ways Derek's vocal leadership never could have prevented. When Maya's quiet observation shifted from survival mode to strategic advantage, the power dynamics in their Austin startup changed completely. 6 weeks after the project's near collapse in April, Maya found herself sitting across from Derek in their one-on-one performance review, watching him struggle to understand how she consistently anticipated problems he never saw coming. Derek opened with his standard confidence, reviewing Maya's technical contributions and suggesting she speak up more in meetings. But Maya had been building something far more valuable than vocal participation. While Derek collected surface-level status updates, Maya had compiled a comprehensive intelligence database about every team member's motivations, stress triggers, and breaking points. She knew Sarah was interviewing elsewhere because of the subtle changes in her calendar patterns. She recognized James's mounting frustration weeks before his productivity dropped because she'd noticed how his body language shifted during Derek's interruptions. Maya understood intuitively that workplace dynamics operated on an information asymmetry principle. Those who observed without speaking accumulated advantages that vocal participants never recognized. Derek's constant commentary consumed his attention, leaving him blind to the emotional intelligence that Maya collected through strategic silence. While Derek broadcasted his thoughts immediately, Maya verified patterns across multiple interactions before drawing conclusions. She cross-referenced verbal commitments against behavioural evidence, building predictive models of team dynamics that Derek's reactive leadership style could never match. Maya's approach wasn't passive withdrawal. It was active intelligence gathering optimized for strategic decision-making. Her silence had created something Derek desperately needed but could never replicate: comprehensive situational awareness built through sustained, strategic observation. When Derek finally asked how Maya had anticipated the project's specific failure points, she realized her information advantage wasn't about being smarter. It was about processing differently, collecting what others overlooked while they were busy being heard. By the time Maya faced her performance review conversation with Derek in late April, the power dynamic had completely reversed. Derek sat across from her asking how she'd anticipated every major team crisis while he had missed them all. Maya understood that her silence had never been a limitation. It was her competitive advantage in a workplace where the most effective leaders combined vocal confidence with emotional awareness. Maya's approach represented what researchers call strategic emotional intelligence. While Derek's vocal leadership style consumed his mental resources with immediate reactions and surface-level multitasking, Maya had developed superior decision-making architecture. Her brain had learned to resist what neuroscientists call amygdala hijacking. Under extreme stress, the amygdala overrides the prefrontal cortex's rational processing, but Maya's years of silent observation had trained her nervous system to resist this hijacking through deliberate self-regulation. When Derek finally asked Maya to take on a team leadership role, she realized her years of quiet pattern recognition had prepared her to lead differently than he did. Maya's silence had never been about lacking confidence or missing the conversation. It was about optimizing her cognitive resources for the kind of deep pattern recognition that vocal participation couldn't support. Her comprehensive situational awareness, built from years of reading micro-expressions, tracking emotional undercurrents, and preserving mental bandwidth for analysis, transformed what looked like social withdrawal into psychological strength. Derek's confidence came from what he said. Maya's insight came from what she heard beneath the words, and that difference determined who saw the crisis coming. If you want to understand what Maya sees that Derek misses, subscribe for more hidden psychology insights, and watch the next video about people who think too much and why that's actually their superpower.